the moment you almost miss. There is a special moment in a cat's life that most people almost never notice, not because it is rare, but because it is quiet in a way that does not be seen easily. It does not arrive with affection, it does not appear suddenly, and it certainly does not laud itself with any clear indicator that something has changed. Actually, if you are waiting for your cat to express you that they feel at peace openly, you may be looking in the wrong direction entirely. Since peace, for a feline, is not something they conduct. It is something they admit, and when it finally realized, it does not look like excitement. It looks like the lack of resistance. Welcome back to Cat Facts Funny. In this episode, we are stepping into a quieter layer of feline psychology, one that exists beneath the visible behaviors most people focus on. We are not looking at affection, not at playfulness, and not even at the typical signs of comfort that are often misunderstood. Instead, we will look something more subtle, more revealing, and far more meaningful over time. The moment a cat stops negotiating with its environment and begins to exist within it without stress. This is not about training your cat to be calm. It is about recognizing when your cat no longer feels the need to stay on defense. The first layer, a world built on awareness. To understand why this moment matters, we first have to aware how a cat experiences the world it lives in. A cat does not enter a space forecasting safety. It enters with wonders. Every sound, every movement, every shift in light or rhythm is processed through a system that is posed not for comfort, but for survival. Even in the quietest homes, this awareness does not simply turn off. It softens, it adjusts, it adapts, but it never fully disappears. This is why many cats can seem calm while still being internally alert. Their bodies may be still, however their attention is active, following small changes that most humans would never even register. The position of their ears, the subtle tension in their shoulders, the way their eyes move even when they seem relaxed. These are all parts of a continuous process of monitoring. And as long as that process remains active at a certain level, the cat is not yet at peace. It is simply managing its environment. The invisible transition from watching to being. There comes a point, though, when something begins to shift. It is not triggered by a single event, nor does it happen in a predictable timeline. It is built slowly, through repeated experiences that confirm one simple idea. Nothing here requires constant attention. And when that idea begins to settle, the cat changes in a way that is almost imperceptible. The eyes no longer scan as often. The ears do not react to every distant sound. The body, instead of holding subtle readiness, begins to release it. This is the moment where the cat is no longer watching the environment in the same way. It is no longer calculating distance, sound, and movement with the same intensity. It is simply there. This is the beginning of peace. Not the kind that is created, but the kind that is chosen. What peace actually looks like. When a cat chooses peace, the signs are not dramatic, and they are often mistaken for something ordinary. You might see your cat resting in a place that was once avoided, not in a cautious way, but with a softness that was not there before. You might notice that they remain in the same position even as small sounds occur around them, sounds that would have previously caused a subtle reaction. Their breathing becomes slower, more rhythmic, not because they are tired, but because there is nothing in that moment asking their body to stay prepared. Their movements, when they do occur, are unhurried, almost effortless, as if there is no urgency behind them. Perhaps most importantly, there is a sense that your presence no longer needs to be monitored. The cat does not track you with the same level of awareness. It does not follow every step or react to every shift in your behavior. And while this might seem like distance, it is actually something much deeper. It is trust without attention. The misunderstanding. Why calm is often overlooked. One of the most common misunderstandings is the belief that a calm cat is a less engaged cat, or even a less connected one. We often associate connection with interaction, with visible responses, with moments that feel active and shared. But in the feline world, connection does not always express itself that way. A cat that no longer feels the need to constantly check its environment is not disengaged. It is settled. It has reached a point where the environment, including you, no longer presents uncertainty. And in that certainty, the need for constant feedback disappears. This is why peace can be so easily overlooked, because it does not demand anything from you. It does not pull your attention. It exists quietly, in the background, as a new baseline that replaces what once was tension. The role you play without realizing it. What makes this transition even more interesting is that it is not something you can force, and yet, it is deeply influenced by you. Not through direct action, but through consistency. Through the way your presence feels over time. Through the predictability of your movements, your routines, your responses. Cats are incredibly sensitive to patterns, not just in their environment, but in the emotional tone of the humans around them. A home that feels stable, where reactions are not sudden or unpredictable, creates a space where the cat does not need to stay in a heightened state of awareness. Over time, this stability accumulates. It becomes something the cat no longer questions. And once that questioning fades, peace becomes possible. Not because it was taught, but because it was allowed. The quiet confidence of a cat at peace. There is a certain presence that a cat carries once it has reached this state. It is not passive and it is not detached. It is something more grounded, more centered. The cat moves through its environment without hesitation, not because it is unaware, but because awareness no longer comes with tension. You may notice that your cat chooses to rest in more open spaces, areas where visibility is higher, rather than hiding or staying near exits. This is not random. It is a reflection of how safe the cat feels in that environment. Openness in this context is not vulnerability. It is confidence. And in that confidence, there is a kind of quiet connection that does not rely on interaction to exist. The cat does not need to be close to you at all times, because the sense of safety you provide is already internalized. Why this moment matters more than affection. Affection is often what people look for as a sign that a cat feels at home, but affection can exist even when a cat is still uncertain. It can appear in moments, in brief interactions, in situations where the cat feels temporarily safe. Peace, on the other hand, is different. It is not momentary. It is not dependent on specific conditions. It is a sustained state that reflects a deeper level of trust, one that extends beyond interaction and into the way the cat experiences its entire environment. When a cat chooses peace, it is no longer responding to safety. It is living within it. And that shift, while quiet, is one of the most meaningful transitions a cat can make. The space between movements, the point peace reveals itself. There is a smooth detail that often goes unawared, even by the most attentive owners. It exists not in what your cat does, but in what happens between what they do. If you begin to track closely, you may notice that your cat is no longer transitioning from one action to another with the same underlying reason. The pauses between movements become longer, softer, almost unstructured. A cat that once moved with aim balancing, checking, repositioning, begins to linger without intention. This lingering is not laziness and it is not fatigue. It is the lack of internal pressure. The body is no longer asking the question, what will be next? Because nothing in the environment is demanding a response. And in those quiet gaps, where there is no urgency to act, no need to respond, you begin to see something deeper than relaxation. You begin to see a mind that is no longer preparing. A cat that rests not because it must, but because it can remain exactly where it is, without needing to become anything else. Learning to see what was always there. The challenge is not in creating this moment, but in learning to recognize it when it arrives. Because it will not look like what you expect. It will not ask for your attention. It will not confirm itself in obvious ways. It will exist in the background, in the stillness, in the absence of something that used to be there. And once you begin to notice it, you may realize that your cat has been showing you this for longer than you thought. Not through action, but through presence. If this perspective helped you see your cat differently, consider subscribing, because in the next episodes, we will continue exploring these quiet layers of animal behavior that often go unnoticed, yet change everything once you begin to see them.